Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. This is a little different video than what I normally do, so don't worry about that. I'm currently finishing off a little bit of grinding here. I got a little bit further to go to get my monster tank on this, but I wanted to sit down and have a little interesting chat here. So, one of the things that's been on my mind recently because of how things are currently going and the recent change in how views slash chatters are counted on Twitch, which has been a little bit more impactful for some people than others. Which, for those of you who may not know, currently the way that Twitch is tracking things, if an IP account is, well, if an IP is being tracked as viewing more than 2 channels at a time, it is not counted as a view for any of the channels they are in. So, at maximum right now, you can only watch 2 streams at a time, which, for most people, that's not a huge thing. For someone who is a streamer that also likes to support other streamers, a lot of them streaming at the same exact time, it kind of like means I can no longer do that how I was doing it. So, it impacts me and the people I have been supporting a little bit, but it also brings me to talking about another fairly serious topic, which is a little different for me. I usually try not to talk about super serious things often because, like, I feel like a lot of people, we hear those enough throughout the week. So it's like having a little something comedic or lighthearted is good for levity. I actually hit that shot, that's wild to me. But no, the thing that I wanted to talk about today is actually avoiding getting trapped in one particular branch of content. Because if you do this for a hobby, this doesn't really impact you all that much. However, if you do this for a career, it's a little more impactful, and it just kind of goes to show you that you need to diversify a little bit. And for some people, that diversity is a little different. Whether that be diversifying the games that you play, or diversifying the platforms that you make content for, which, like, for me, I do this for the lack of better terms, I do this for the love of the game. So, for me, I'm not really interested in trying to monetize more platforms because, you know, particularly things like YouTube, you have to be, like, really careful, especially with their new guidelines and stuff, because they have updated them for the upcoming release of GTA 6, of how they age-gate things, which, fair enough, it makes sense. It's also going to stifle a whole lot of channels that think they're going to focus on that, so they have to be real cautious. I just got ammo racked. That's unfortunate for me. Oh, there goes my game. But anyways, the important thing to realize is if you are doing this for a career, is something that's a little bit more apparent now than ever, especially with the way that games are being run and leadership in said games are constantly in a state of change. Because AAA gaming is something that I don't see very sustainable. I've seen the writing on the walls for a while, and I don't see it being able to, like, keep up with the current landscape unless things drastically change. Especially because quality has been a little bit more prevalent in indie games for a while, but it's becoming like more frequent. Indie games have always been strong, but in the recent years they have become a lot more densely packed with heavy hitters. So, as someone that works around a lot of people that do game dev, specifically are independent game devs or have worked in game dev, it's kind of refreshing to see smaller studios more frequently putting out quality games. And what I mean when I say quality games is games that have that, like, they're made to be fun. Profit is like a cherry on top of the sundae. But the game itself is made by people that want to make the game, and they're not rushed to get it out, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas AAA, most people that are in those studios are currently being, like, threatened to even, like, have a job. On top of the crunch to actually get a game done by the deadline that the studio demands. So it makes a lot more sense when you start thinking about it that the devs are just doing their 9 to 5 and the people up at the top are the ones making the decisions, even if they have no idea what goes into making a game. So if you've been wondering why quality of big expensive titles has not been the greatest over the past like few years, there's your explanation. Don't point that at the devs. It's not, usually, in most cases, it's not the devs' fault when a game starts becoming increasingly greedy, increasingly demanding, or increasingly buggy. The devs have only so much time, and specifically what's become common for AAA games as of late is to completely fire their entire QA teams. So there's no bug testing before the game like drops or before major updates drop, so that bug testing goes to the live players, so they have to kind of deal with it. And they're the ones who are ending up actually doing the testing, even though they still want to believe that game studios have Q&A teams when, you know, it's become more and more common knowledge that a lot of Q&A teams are the first ones to get cut whenever there's layoffs at studios, which is bad for the people that expect playable games. But I'm getting off topic here. I want to go back to the diversifying content before I get sidetracked on that whole tangent, because good lord, the internet is ruthless, and they will attack anyone, even if they don't have anything to do with the problem. Which, like, if you want anything solved like that, you gotta direct that toward the higher-ups. You always gotta direct that toward the higher-ups, not toward the people on the ground. That's just me. That's my word of advice for now, if you want to see things done. But back to diversifying content. For those of us who are in the realm of streaming and or making videos, this is the point in time where you need to learn kind of what it is you want to do. Something that you can reliably continue to do for a while. And that also differs between if you're doing this for a hobby, doing it for fun, kind of like I'm doing, which, like, I'm making a little bit off of it, but it's not my only income, you know? Like, thankfully, it's not my only income. The way things are going and the way games constantly change, you have to ask yourself, do I see myself playing one game, Or do I see myself playing a few different games? Because if you see yourself playing a few different games... Oh, that was horribly misplayed on my part. I'm playing so poorly right now. Okay, this is gonna be bad for me. Yeah. This is death. Yeah, that was just horribly misplayed on my part, but basically what I'm saying is you have to ask yourself at a certain point in content creation, do I see myself playing one game and making content on that one game only and making a community around it, or do I see the game not being able to maintain what I want, or myself being able to maintain interest in that game long enough to constantly make content on it. It's a balancing act, because like as time goes on, if you plan to do this as a career, as time goes on, your audience usually changes. So like it depends if you can adapt to that or if you can't. So like oftentimes it goes back and forth whether or not, you know, you're gonna maintain the same level of viewership and everything like that. And it's really easy to get bogged down in the numbers. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, because I know people that do this for their career rely on the numbers, but you can't let that bog down your head, because it's really, really easy to spiral out of control if you focus on them too hard. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, don't worry about the numbers aren't important. Because, like, if you're doing it as a hobby, it's really easy to say that. It's not your livelihood, it's not what you rely on to pay bills. Whereas, if it's your career, the numbers are pretty important. It's just like anything else. Like, those numbers are the difference between being able to make, like, a mortgage payment if you have a house, and not. So, yeah, I get it. I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, they're completely irrelevant, don't worry about them. But I'm also not gonna sit here and say, like, you have to obsessively dwell on them, because that's bad for you. That's really bad for your head. And it reflects in how you come off in your streams and videos. At the end of the day, the most important thing to ask yourself is, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying to do? Like me, my whole purpose of the channel, which goes back to like a promise that I made when I started my YouTube channels. I do not monetize my YouTube channels. Why? Because like, I started them for fun, and I'm continuing to do them for fun. My YouTube videos, specifically these, are stuff that's just made with things that I've got going on in my head, things that I want to talk about, videos that I want to do, which, like, as you can see, like, it's mostly been like tanks and Destiny stuff. Mainly because, like, when I record these videos, I try to do one a week now that I'm back into the creative headspace, but at a certain point when you're doing a whole lot of things, it's really easy to get burnt out. And that's another thing that comes with time, is learning, okay, how much of this can I do at a time before I wear myself thin? And it's something that I don't think is talked about a whole lot, and it's kind of like viewed negatively because of like a lot of us, like specifically me, like some of you may know, like I'm a millennial. I grew up listening to people talking about like how they would work with such and such injury or illness, and they didn't complain, they just got back to work, and you get that like mentality of hard work at your own detriment coming out, which, like, I'm not gonna knock that. Like, when you have to work hard to make ends meet, yeah, like, obviously I'm not going to like criticize that. That's not something I'm going to sit there and be like, oh, that's horrible, that's evil. It's not their fault. It's the system that they grew up in, and you know, they made the best of their their talents and their time. Well, not talents. Talents is not the best word for it. Talents is a word I usually try to avoid saying because it's skills. It's not talents. You're not like born. Most people are not born with the innate ability to do things. You just pick things up quickly. And that's more appropriate to say in most instances, especially like in content. Are some people more charismatic than others? Yes, but you know, it's not something that's usually innate. You pick it up quickly. But anyways, back to what I was saying. The important thing to learn, especially with content creation, is knowing when to take a break, when to relax, because you need to refresh your mind, get a different, like, perspective on things sometimes. Because going full tilt constantly can drain you and make you just not want to do anything. So, you know, you gotta pace yourself. Because if you use everything at once, then you'll have nothing left. And it starts to show, and you start to, like, stagnate, and it really starts to, like, get to you. So that's something that, like, for me was particularly hard to learn at first. But then, like, after a little bit of time, it's like, you kind of start to recognize the feeling, and then you just take a little break. Like, obviously, for bigger creators that rely on it for income, it's not super easy to do unless you have alternate sources of income. Which, by the way, if you do this for a career, absolutely be looking for good opportunities to do more than just content. Like, absolutely go for those. Like, sponsorships are huge, but also make sure who it is you're working with. Don't just like go for anything, you know? But yeah, I know this is more of a serious topic while I'm sitting here playing funny tank game, but I wanted to get these thoughts out, and honestly, I very much love hearing feedback and some thoughts from others as well, because I started doing this, like, working around content and making videos and stuff, like, over a decade ago. It has been one of my passions to just make things for fun and share, like, my love of games and other topics with people on a daily basis. It's honestly, it's been super incredible for me to be able to be around this and to actually be able to recently meet a lot of people that have over the years inspired me to do more and to, like, really shake up how I approach my career. It's been really cool to get to share this experience with a lot of people, and as much as they want to try to make it this way, and by they I mean like streaming platforms and content platforms, everything like that, as much as they want to make it seem like it's competitive and you're always competing with other people for views and everything, you're not. Like, the best way to look at content creation is that everyone in the space is a peer. Like, some of us occupy the same spaces, but everyone has their own unique perspectives and execution. So, like, it's important to look at content that way, because you never know. Working with someone else that occupies a similar space as you could result in some new inspiration. You never know. Working with someone else could give you that little, like, boost in inspiration you need to, like, take your content to the next level. But yeah, that's basically all that I wanted to say on this, but I'm gonna finish this game out, and then I'll have this video, uploading. I love the fact that once I start getting onto the serious end topic, I start really focusing in, and we have a really good end game. I'm probably gonna die to the... Oh no, I'm actually gonna survive. Incredible. I'll take it. That's a good game. Ignore the fire on the outside. But yeah, if this video manages to grace your feed, and you have, and I use grace your feed lightly, don't think that I have a big head for that, but if it's managed to cross your feed, and you like what I'm talking about, or you would like to hear me talk about other topics, my comments are always open. I enjoy feedback. I'm not going to sit here and dismiss whether it's positive or negative feedback. I do like to hear from you all. But yeah, I just love being able to share my goofy self on the internet and be serious sometimes. But yeah, I think that no matter what people have been going through, that everyone deserves to have something to smile about sometimes, you know? Because it's hard. Life's not easy for everybody, and yeah, it's good to have a place where you can just kind of pop in, enjoy yourself, relax, and just kind of vibe. But yeah, let me know what you think below. If you've watched through this far in the video, thank you very much. Again, I do all of these purely because I feel like it, and I enjoy making more of these. But thank you so much if you watched this far. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.